dreams and thoughts collide in this early morning ride. Wake up world, let's start the day. Insight flows in a bright array. Questions dance like morning dew. In this space, it's me and you. Coffee chats with Melissa. Every cup is a whisper. Conversations open doors. Spilling thoughts forevermore. Ideas bubble crisp and bright. Words take flight in morning light. Consult the heart, make it sing. New perspectives on each wing.
Good morning, good morning, good morning. Listen, it's Saturday. It's Coffee Chats with Melissa Ann Houston. I am her. I am wired for sound this morning, guys, if I could put it lightly. I just want to jump out of my skin. I am so excited because tomorrow, about this time, I'm going to be getting on a plane to go see Miss Jackie Hallberg. If you guys know me, you must know her. It's hard to know me and not know Jackie. Um, Go check out the stuff. I'm going to talk about it later, but I'm just really energized. And if you're like, what is she on this morning? What is she drinking? It's on excitement. I am drinking of all of the good juices that are flowing, and maybe a little bit of that Red Bull Summer Edition White Peach that's no longer found in every store. I'm mad. Red Bull, get at me. We need to make this a lifelong journey, okay? Because I like the peach. So here we are. I wanted to get into this week because a lot of people are out there struggling, right? I see it on LinkedIn all the time. I'm seeing it on Facebook. Layoffs, job search, maybe people not so happy with their life, maybe people wishing their life was different, dreaming. I see the Instagram likes and reposts and all those things that we're wanting. But to get there, we got to put in the work, right? We've talked about that too. And if we're new and you don't know me, hi. Documentandact.com is the website. You should go check it out. You'll learn a lot about Melissa very quickly. If I had to summarize myself to the new people, I'm a little bit of Lisa Frank, a little bit of Betty White, a little bit of Google, maybe some of that ChatGPT these days in a blender. And what that really means is I just want to help people live their dreams, do it with a lot of fun and color and passion. I like to do it with Venn diagrams and all of those circles you see floating on the screen because I use elementary education concepts, the stuff we remember from the beginning, right? The Crayolas, the fresh crayon box smell, going into the classroom and putting your name on the name tag the first time on the desk. That's yours all season. That's that feeling I want to engage inside of your spirit. And a lot of us as we grow up get disconnected from it. It's just a fact. So when I look at how can I help those people who want to dream big and go forward, I use my tools. I'm a researcher. I spent a decade in background screening. I've run startup after startup. I've helped business people do their dreaming at the top and things they've already begun. I've helped people start from scratch with no idea of what the dream should look like, but then evolve it from there. So when I think about how to do all the things I do and why I do the things I do, it really comes back to us, the human. And so, what was once business coaching and consulting solely just focused on growing your brand became personal and mindset coaching because I realized a lot of people are just in their own way. Me included, guys. I'm not perfect. By no means do I want you to think I know it all because I don't. As a matter of fact, it's why I am a researcher, is because I don't know. If I knew, I wouldn't have to Google. I wouldn't have to do any of that stuff. I already know. So be willing to open that yourself up today because I'm not speaking from an authority except over my own life. And I'm hoping my journey will help you. That being said, I would love to start with a quote I usually end with, guys. Victory and victim both start out the same way. It's up to you how it ends. And I want you to maybe write this down. If you have a pen, you should have a pen and paper when you listen to the show. If you have it, write it down. Put a little sticky note in, something to tell you. Go screen grab it, right? Screenshot, go ahead. But if you write out victory and you write out victim, it literally starts the same on the first four letters. And it really is up to us how we take away from this moment because we might lose, but that doesn't mean we're a victim of the situation, right? Super Bowl losers are not victims. They are still second to the champions. They are still the only other team on the field on the biggest game of the year. And so I want you to put your mindset into what we're talking about today. It does not mean that you're a terrible human. It doesn't mean that if you discover something about yourself you don't like, that now woe is you and oh no, this guy is falling, because that's not really it. Once you identify where the leak comes from, you can stop the flood in the house, right? And so I just want you to think about the things, putting on an HR perspective, putting on a mindset of, would I hire myself for this life? Not only do I want to, talk about it, but why or why not, right? That's the value of the conversation. And so write the question down too. Would you hire yourself for your own life? And by the end of this conversation, I hope you can solve for that. Now, I will say before I get into it, I want to say hello to some of these people. I see some of you down there and you're bright and early and awake. Thanks for coming. I hope you're as excited as I am. I want to say hey to Jackie and Aaron and Sean and David. I do see LinkedIn user. I'm not quite sure who it is, but he's like, hey, all right, let's get this going. Gregory, I'm seeing you. Jay. Okay. I think that's everybody's names I saw. So listen, when we're talking about this, I want you to put your mindset into what kind of boss you want to be. Everybody has an opinion about a recruiter or an HR person or their boss, right? Formerly, they're somebody who could have been improved on. We have an opinion. I want you to think about yourself as that human, right? You don't want to become the person that maybe isn't such a good recruiter, maybe doesn't return the calls, maybe doesn't answer questions about the role or position, right? Think about the worst post on LinkedIn about the recruiting process. I really want you to be ready to criticize yourself if you don't treat yourself as the prospect kindly during this experience. Now, I know this is a duality, so if you have to, do two circles, right? I maybe planned for this. But think about yourself in the ocean, the sea of resumes. We have one, the job description. How would you define your life? How are you going to hire somebody without a good job description? I mean, honestly, you can't. Um, HR 101, onboarding 101, know what you're hiring for. So if you had to define your life, could you? And if so, what would you bullet point? So maybe in that first circle, can you put job description? Okay, my life. And it's got to be the good, the bad, the ugly, guys. If you've ever coached with me, you know that's all I want in that first circle. What are the bullet points that make your job the job? For me, I'm a grandma, I'm a mother, I'm a businesswoman, I'm a content creator, I'm a podcast host. I run a niche retail environment where we kick butt and we're in the top of the nation. I'm a coach, I'm a consultant, I'm a wife, right? Did I say that? Um, a 50s girl at heart. I want the 50s cars and dresses to come back, but I also want to carry my briefcase to the house before dinner gets done. I might want to have help with the housework since I'm working all day, maybe not doing the laundry or the dishes, but I don't mind throwing a pie in the oven. These are things about me. Now, on the other side, trying to be me typically consists of a pretty busy schedule, pretty diverse shifts of responsibilities. I could be in that niche retail environment. I take a quick break, maybe I go on my lunch, and then all of a sudden I'm in business consulting mode again. I might be a content creator at 4 a.m. and I may be a coach until 6 a.m. And then from 6 a.m. to 8 a.m., I might be a wife and a mother. And then you get my point, right? So you figure out your schedule, you figure out your bullet points. Also, what are the downsides about this job, guys? I want you to think about this as a whole because truthfully, if I were going to go into an interview, some of the questions that I would ask as a job seeker is what are my daily responsibilities? What are some of the duties that I might be asked to do outside of those normal daily responsibilities? Who's on my team? What is the purpose? What is the mission? Tell me about the company. What are you giving back? What are your priorities in this industry? Are you growing? Are you diversifying? Are you looking to merge? Right? Because truthfully, if you're asking yourself these questions as a business, are you looking to merge? Are you going to get married? Do you have a business partner you're starting something with? Are you merging from one state to another? Maybe you're transitioning. I don't know, right? Like you have to define this for you guys. This is something I want you to think about. And really, it's hard because I want you to define your job, that your life as a job. And then really, once you define it, I want you to ask yourself, is this your dream job? And would you be happy? Because you're going to have to hire somebody to do the job you're doing right now in this moment. In my brain, okay, and this is doesn't work, but let's just pretend that I had to hire this for this role because I didn't want to do it anymore, right? And typically that's why somebody's leaving the role, so we would fill it. And so if that were pretend the case, you're not leaving, I'm not letting you. Don't feel that way if you're feeling like you want to give up on this job right now. You reach out to me. Don't be alone, okay? Victory and victim. Reach out. Don't be alone. But if you were to hire somebody else here, what would you feel bad about gifting them in this job? Is it that doom drawer in your desk? Is it the laundry pile? Like Melissa in her bedroom? It's stacked up, guys. It's on my to-do list today. I got to pack. I figured I could pack and do laundry at the same time and we'll get it done. But what are those things that maybe you wouldn't want to have to hand over to somebody else if you had to hand them your life? Because really, that's the ugly part of that circle that we need to assess. And so getting into it, it could get heavy. And I want you to go at your own pace. You could pause. You can put these questions away for later and just listen to us and read the comments and do all of that. But I really want you to save this and contemplate this a little bit at a time as you can. Because truthfully, I I don't know if I would want me to live all of my life. I have arthritis. I would feel incredibly bad to go, hey, Felipe, congrats. Here's my life. Because he doesn't have the issues I have when he goes on. Like I see him walking copper in the video for our careers, chaos, and coaching. I look at him and I'm like, oh, I'm so jealous. He probably really enjoyed that. And I would have been like, oh, it's great for the first 15 minutes. And then after that, I would not probably have enjoyed it as much. When you think about maybe the stress you're under, the anxiety you have, the thoughts you don't say out loud, but you keep inside, would you hand those over? And And the reason I'm asking this is if you wouldn't hand it to somebody else, why are you allowing yourself to do those things or deal with those things or not deal with those things and consistently have them on your shoulders? Right. So this is definitely going to be a heavier show, guys. Take it as you need to. Come and go as you please. It's cool. It's Saturday, and I know that. But I really thought it was a great time to self-reflect, especially since I'm going into a deep thinking mode. I'm going into vacation. I'm going into business and brand building, doing some more stuff for the Emotional Women with Jackie. I'm going to go hang out in a state that I haven't visited since my mom passed. And that was the last reason I was in the state. It just so happens to be coming up on the 3-year anniversary of her passing. And so there's so many things at play here. I thought I'd get self-reflective. And so I want you to do this too. So let me get back to the job, right? When I was thinking about myself and if I would pick me out of all of those resumes, I started to think about that GED and the smile thing we've talked about here. And guys, if you're new to the show, I'm going to explain it. I am a self-proclaimed GED and a smile because if I had to tell you the highest level of education I have received, it is the GED. I did go to college. I went full time as a mom with a toddler on the bus system. It didn't work. I tried really hard. It was 5 buses a day. Had to get off one of the buses, walk them to the daycare, walk back to the bus. I only had time to do homework on the bus. It really wasn't working for me. Now, that said, would I pick me? Question mark, right? Let's talk about who me is. So I'm going to just go over here to my cell phone, guys. I'm sorry, because I updated my profile recently. I don't have it memorized. I just revamped it. But let's talk about what Melissa would show me if, right? She says she's the cultivator of dreams, motivator of human capital. Honestly, as an employer, she's a little big-headed. I don't know what that means, but I'm curious. It's enough for me to go, ooh, there's ego there, but let me talk to her. Okay. Second mind of visionary leaders. Yeah, that's true. That's kind of cool. All right. Still like, okay. Operations, brand builder, strategic planner, speaker, coach, consultant, 2-time best-selling co-author. Document, then act. That's my quote, right? So listen, as a 2-time best-selling co-author, a brand builder, a secondary mind to visionary leaders, doing operations, all of the strategic planning, speaker, GED. Be honest with yourself. Would you hire me for my job? If I told you I was a GED and a smile, that I have earned my stripes in the positions I've harnessed, that I started as a sales professional and I built from there. I literally knocked on doors. Then I called every phone number that was on the auto dialer. And then I moved into strategic sales, CRM, building out the database, one phone number at a time, every business in town, right? And then I kept going. Eventually that moved to social. Eventually that moved to email. Eventually that moved to, hey, can you help us with the website and the copy and the absolutely. But I just said GED. How many of the employers that you have work for now are, I'm calling you out if you're the one in charge, would skip me because I am a GED holder? So think through this, right? Are you giving yourself your fair dues or are you just looking at the surface level, just the quick title, just the things you're told are of value? There is something more to be had than just the titles, guys. And so if you dive in a bit, and be honest with yourself, maybe you wouldn't hire yourself. If I had to be stringent and use the criteria that others, some of my clients have in place for their staff, I would not be able to hire myself. Also, it really makes me self-reflect on, do I care enough about the title? Would I play with people who care so much about that 3-letter, that acronym is GED, General Education Diploma, the one that most high schoolers can't actually pass. That test isn't enough for many. So when you think through this, right, it's kind of cool to really put it into perspective. I probably wouldn't qualify for many. And you know what? That's cool because I qualify for me. And I've never accepted front door access. If they said no, you can't. You don't have the degree. Okay, cool. I'll just go work at the staffing agency that hires for you. I'm still doing your hiring, although I'm doing it from outside, and I'm going to charge you way more than it ever would have cost you to let me do it from inside the building. Listen, pick you based on what you're qualified for, what you're capable of. Because truthfully, I don't qualify to make $18 an hour for some of these businesses in, say, Iowa, doing things that I could do with my eyes closed and probably do while I'm doing 3 other jobs. However, I can charge $250 an hour to those same companies in Iowa, and they'll pay it to me because I say I'm a consultant. Here is my invoice. Pick you. Prepare your data, your information the way that it's best received. People who don't understand value never will see value in things. That's just how it is. Most of the people in business today, the business owners, the founders, high school graduates, maybe. There's a lot of high school dropouts that made it big. Pick you for all the reasons. And so make sure it's not just those bullet points on a resume, guys. I want you to really dive in. What makes you different? Melissa's a get it done girl. Melissa will not stop at the front door. I will go through the back door. I will just call the owner of the company and go, hey, HR won't let me talk to you. Can we be LinkedIn friends? I will. And I have. And they sign the contract. And then they tell HR, let me introduce you to my new best friend, Melissa. And HR looks at me like, how did she do that? Guys, don't let people determine your path. You can do that. Even if they say, sorry, we don't hire this way, that's not always true. Doing business with people is exchanging your time for money. The contract in which that gets done is the negotiation point for me. Okay, let's move on. Last week we talked, we'll move on to move backwards. Okay, it's not in the dreaming, it's in the doing. Last week we talked about Mark Cuban and his book. And it was for me a lot of overlapping concepts in a book I had never read before or didn't remember reading ever in my life. I could have maybe, right? But I feel like it would have really hit me in my soul and it would have stuck with me. I would have wrote it down enough to remember it and quote it throughout life because now I am. But you got to get to work. The other thing I'll say about this show is it comes back to reflection, guys. The more we reflect on who we are, the goods, the bads, the uglies, the easier it is to fix the problems, right? If we are a vehicle, pretend you're a car, you know there's things rattling. You know there's things that don't feel good when you turn this way or that way. You know if you go too fast, there's things that start to shimmy and shake and rattle. You know if you go too slow, you get, move that beast, get out of the way, let's go, right? Um, you know you. You know you better than anybody else will ever know you. And if you don't feel like what I just said is true, then we're in a lot of trouble because if you don't know you, how am I supposed to know you? If you don't know what you stand for, you fall for anything, right? We've heard it. I have watched this happen for like the last decade. Truth be told, I've watched people eat each other's faces off, which is now my new favorite term, by the way. Because they don't know what they stand for. They think they know, but then when you dive into it, they're like, oh, well, I'm still going to say what I said, but it doesn't overlap with what I meant it to be. And so, guys, even if I think I'm trying to be the coolest mindset coach ever, if I talk to somebody and it takes away from their mindset moment, that's not helpful. Now, if it redirects them to something that makes them self-reflect into something that maybe doesn't feel so great, okay. It's okay to reflect and not always have bubbly feelings in doing it. You're allowed to be angry when you reflect, right? You're allowed to express those feelings and have those series of emotions and feel them and address them and honor them. However, learn from them. It comes back to what the emotional women are talking about. Like emotions are a symptom. They tell you something. They're like the check engine light. So reflect on what this moment, this conversation is bringing up for you. Think about being a good onboarding professional, right? Do you see potential in the person in front of you? Would you give this person a job if they could do like 80% of the work but still had 20% to go? This is the part that I want you to reflect on. Do you expect perfection to be you? We've talked about it so many times in audio events, and I was talking with Aaron Gibson about the show. He did the song. I don't know if you like that opening song, but he did it. But he and I were talking about my premise of the show and kind of where I'm going with it, and just the topic this week. And he made a comment of, you used to do a lot of shows like that. And I really did, guys. I used to come in and do this like self-reflection journey and tell you my story and do these things. And I really want to get thoughtful. I really want to go back to that because that is what I would hire myself to do. Put a little salt in the wound to let you know, dang, you got that paper cut. You didn't even realize you got it. Anybody ever have a paper cut that they found after they squeezed the lemon? They had no idea before the lemon. Okay. While you guys are answering that, right? Like, have you ever moved so quickly that you got the cut, you didn't know you got the cut until you touched something, right? Until much later. It can happen. So don't think it's just you. It's not. Um, I found this. This is not my, I mean, the girls that paralleled back to back. Somebody had created that on Canva and I snapped it and put it into my slide. But um, it really made me think of me a little bit, right? Not exactly. She doesn't have the eyebrows exact, but I have a glittery side, and then I have a side that maybe doesn't feel glittery all the time. Maybe it's less colorful. Maybe it's like, hey, I poured all my color onto my client. Now I'm okay. Have you ever been there? Do you feel this image inside your spirit? Because I want you to know that that's part of the job too. It's not always happy to be Melissa Ann Houston. It's not. I actually deal with some of life's hardest moments with my clients. There was one day where I had 3 calls in a row where there was loss in that client's life. Somebody or their family or pet had passed. And it was 3 in a row, same day. I woke up shiny. But at the end of pouring into people and really being empathetic and taking on those feelings with them and really trying to understand where they are and getting into their mindset with them to coach them through these moments, there's only so much you can pour out of your cup before your cup goes, hey, can I get a refill? Excuse me, waiter. So just know you're not alone. And if you're feeling this, that's okay. But remember to be the boss you said you wanted in the first place. You are your own first boss. You're the boss that gives you every other boss because you accept that for yourself. Um, signing that conditional job offer gives you the new boss, and that's your choice. Again, you're the boss of that decision. And that's a heavy feeling sometimes. So just remember to be a kind boss. Don't be hard on the employee if they didn't get it the first time. Sometimes you're trying to do your best and you're like, oh, wait, that's not what I thought it would be. And that's okay. Right? But don't be too hard on yourself alone because we've all been here. Guys, if you have felt this, please just drop it in the comments because maybe somebody's sitting there quietly. They're not commenting. They're not, showing up in the DMs. They're not doing any of that, but they are feeling this. If you have felt this, let them know. You're human too. We all feel it, right? This is something that happens in humans. And a good way to like spot check if you're feeling like, oh my gosh, why am I feeling like this? I'm so stupid. I'm crying. I'm so this, I'm that. All of these emotions are coming up. Just ask yourself, would you say this to an infant? If you would, we should talk. Because infants only cry if it hurts or they're hungry or they're in need. That is their form of communication. If your face is communicating like it is here on the right, where there's something maybe not so happy, where it looks like an inverted smile, it's communicating something. If you're angry, you're communicating something. I get hangry. Communicate. I'm hangry. And I can quickly become sparkly with a sandwich in my hand, right? So thinking through what triggers me, what's good for me. Am I going to be the boss that gives somebody a lunch break if they look like this? Maybe give them a 10-minute break to go walk outside, get some fresh air. Show up for yourself until success shows up for you. This is something that 80-20, right? They say if you have like 80% of the job description down, you should go for it. I would say if you have the willingness and you show up, you're already halfway there. Truthfully, I can teach you everything in the building if you're willing to learn, right? And so for me, I'm going to keep being willing to learn, to show up for myself, to do the thing until it shows up for me. It's education, right? I'm going to keep practicing this knowledge that you say. I'm going to keep testing until you give me the degree. Isn't that what college is? If you're not in college, if you're past that point, if you never got to travel through that journey, success is based on action. And really, even in college, same thing. If you don't do the homework, you don't do the assignments, you don't participate, you're in trouble. There's no secret to this. This is actually everything you were taught in a classroom, right? Elementary education concepts, guys. However, what kind of teacher do you want to be for yourself also? Not just the employer, but your educator, your gap filling. If you're only at 80% of what you wish you had to do this job, whether it's financially, and in your education, physically, right? I wish I had 20% more of my body activated. Whatever it is, you just have to keep going with what you got. And how are you reflecting on the 20% that's not there? I will say, guys, I would love to make this a conversation today. I would love to hear from you, talk to you. So if you want to join the stage and reflect on this, maybe talk about, the best parts of your resume and why you would hire yourself. Reflect with me. Maybe you can acknowledge that, like Melissa, if you want to work with Melissa, it's not easy. I'm going to be honest with you. There are rules in my day job. I'm going to give you an example, right? I have a top performing team and I'm proud of it. How did we get there? Fun and passion. How did that work and still get the job done? Because it's only fun if I don't have to chase you down to do your job. You should be passionate about not making me chase you down to do your job. That's your job. Also, hey, good job. You get to work in this wonderful industry you're passionate about because I only hire people who really want to be in it, to do a good job, to they have that drive, that willingness to show up and do the thing that they're being asked for. But then also, can you be passionate about helping me keep the managers away from you in a negative way? The best way I put it to my team is I don't want corporate coming into the store unless they're bringing balloons and prizes. Right. And really, in that mindset, right? Do you want your boss going, hey, can I talk to you for 5 minutes on a Friday night? Only if he's bringing balloons and cake. Right. And so if we think through this, I want you to do the same thing. What kind of boss? What makes it work? The fun and passion is there. And then the accountability. For me, I hired you to work. We're here to do a job because there was a business in need. That is my mindset. As a coach, as a consultant, I am paid by the hour to do as much as possible in that hour as I can to make you better. An hour with Melissa is worth 4 with others sometimes. And I'm not saying that because I'm big headed. I'm saying it because I execute quickly and I can multitask and I have an order of operations because I know how it works. Because even in fast food, guys, you cook the burger before you start building the burger, right? There's an order of operation. And I realized working in fast food, if it takes 2 minutes to make a burger, a minute and a half to do the fries, a minute to do the shake, you have an order of operations to have everything come out at the exact same time, and you have a set amount of time to get it done, right? And so if you can start making your life that kind of process driven, time based, streamlined approach, it's not hard. School was fun because they figured out your schedule for you. You had 2 bells, sometimes 2 minutes between classes, 5 maybe. You were supposed to empty your bladder, go to your locker, change your books, and still make it to class in 2 to 5 minutes, whatever it was in your school. And you did it. Why? Because you knew you had to. Because there was no other exception, right? You had accountability if you did it. So, how do you hold yourself accountable? How do you set yourself apart from the others? Because there's so many people who can do jobs, guys. Humans are very capable. Any human can learn any task they apply themselves to. You may need tools. There may be additional things required for some. But if there's a will, there's a way is something I learned early in life and it really resonated with me. And so thinking through that, thinking through being a good boss, thinking through being a good employee, thinking through accountability, where would you change it with you? Let's say you got the job. Congrats, you're hired. I'm so proud of you. Now that we've selected you, what do you want to fix about this role? Like, right when I go into a job, I can tell you there's some things I love immediately about it, and there's other things where I'm like, oh man, I wish this was on the left side of the desk. Just maybe your phone. Maybe you like the phone not to be next to the mouse. It's too much on the right side, right? So you just make that small tweak on the desk and it works great. Maybe it's like, hey, I hate this document. I'm going to reformat it. None of it's the way it needs to be. I'm going to do it from the top down and I need to get legal on the phone. Sure, happens a lot. I've done it there too. I was a compliance person for background screening companies for a decade. Yeah. What are you going to revamp? What documentation do you need to pull out of your drawer and go, all right, Melissa, we need to talk. There's been some things I've been seeing you doing, and I just wanted to bring them to your attention, maybe get a plan of action and come back in 30 days and see how you're doing on this. Write it down, guys. What's your list? Some quick answers that I could get off the top of my head. A lot of people tell on the internet, right? I'm just going to stay from posts on the internet. Finances, time management, mindset, relationships, fun, like self-care. Think about the things that you're not doing well. Are you talking to yourself like a really bad boss? What does that look like? When you are quietly sitting in a room, what is the conversation you're having with yourself? And would HR write you up for having that conversation with your employee that way? What kind of follow-up do you have? Have you ever gone to a boss and said, hey, I have a problem and I would like a solution? And they say, great, we'll do that. Sure, fine. And then they don't come back. There's no follow-up. You never hear back. How many times did you say you're going to do this thing that popped into your brain? Let's just say finances, right? Everybody's looking at these since egg prices went up. I feel like everybody's kind of just going, oh, money, yay, right? Stay encouraged, y'all. Yes, David, yes. But let's just say finances. Have every year we talk about finances in coffee chats. Every year around January and June, I like to reflect again and say, hey, it's a good time to check your budget. Make sure you're turning off those auto, um, pay things that you don't want to pay, those subscription services you're not using. January, we do the resolutions. How often do you say, I'm going to lose weight? I'm going to eat better. I'm going to walk all the time. I'm going to start doing things, right? How long until you write yourself up because you haven't? Like, how many times do you let your employee say, I'm going to do this thing, and they don't, and you just let it slide? How many times would your boss have let it slide if you've never been an employer? Your mom, your dad, your grown up, whoever it was. And what is and I finger quotes, guys, letting it slide, right? Why you allow yourself. Sometimes people are just seriously overwhelmed, and that's totally a good reason to just hold on to what you're doing. But at the same time, if you never make time to get it together, it's always going to be a disaster. Time management 101. Find the first spot in your calendar and block it out to get into time management mode, right? You just schedule time to then get into your schedule to make your time more efficient. Same thing with this, guys. Whatever your bullets are, whatever that bullet point is in that first circle of, the job description, reflect on it. What would you require? Do you need a superhero? Or are you thinking, oh man, I need Jason Bourne to come in, right? This is Mission Impossible every day. It can't just be anybody. We need the Navy SEALs. Why are you making yourself live that life? How many businesses are you running? We can go back to Mark Cuban. Cuban gets the stuff done. He's in the doing. He gets a lot done. But how much of it does he touch personally? How much of it does he delegate and still get things accomplished, right? Still have them become valuable to him and come to fruition. You define your own success, guys. I am talking about my success. I want to be a visionary, second mind to visionary leaders, right? I want to have Mark Cuban call me and go, Melissa, I have this new idea. I was thinking about you, and do you have any glitter you can sprinkle on the concept? That is a goal. That's fun. That may not be your goal. I also have a goal of traveling all 50 states in an RV or like a really nice little deluxe house on wheels. That may not be your goal. I would love to have room service be the way I get served breakfast for like 6 months as I travel for no reason at all, except to say, hey, I don't want to get out of bed while I have breakfast. I'm going to be traveling the whole rest of the day. These are things you got to figure out for yourself. Um, Showing up for yourself until success shows up for you. I want you to imagine yourself sitting across the desk from yourself right now. What is your very first thought? And if you've never done this, guys, have you? Maybe I'm a weirdo, but have you ever just looked at yourself in the mirror, like genuinely made eye contact, took some time to just look? There are some people who could do this, and it's like, absolutely, I love what I see. I'm totally happy with what's going on. There's others who are like, oh, I don't mind glancing, and I look and I make sure my hair's good and my makeup's good, but they never make eye contact with themselves. Is that you? Because I didn't realize I was eye contact avoidant for years. I would go into the mirror and it was almost like I had a little bit of a blurred vision where I wasn't seeing the fine lines. It was almost this hazy little filter Instagram allowed me to put over my eyesight. And I wouldn't look at myself. And when I realized that it was happening, when I realized I was just kind of surface viewing, so to speak, I it hurt my soul because I had realized I didn't want to see the person in the mirror. And I remembered almost when it started, not like the moment, right? But I could remember times prior to those thoughts and those days where it wasn't a problem for me. It was fine. And I was excited to look in the mirror and I would sit there for hours and just be able to play or whatever. I was a younger person, right? And I was learning makeup techniques and I was trying new hairstyles and we didn't have the internet. So we were our own TikToks. So thinking through that, there was moments and when I really reflected back onto why I stopped looking at myself, it was because I had so much loss at this certain point in my life. My fiance had passed away. Um, it was unexpected. I had moved 2 hours away from my family for self-preservation to try to make it happen for myself. But also, it made a lot of distance happen, and I was alone. And I needed to be alone to be able to swim. It's almost like when you're drowning in the ocean, you don't want to be in a group of people because people are very likely to grab onto you to try to save themselves and end up drowning you in the process. And that's very much what it felt like being home sometimes. So moving away felt like a salvation thing until I lost my fiance. And when he passed unexpectedly, the world changed. And I couldn't look myself in the mirror anymore. I didn't recognize her. I didn't even want to see the difference because I didn't recognize the sad human in front of me. Looking at that Melissa actually made it worse because then I could see that I wasn't hiding it anymore. Like everybody has feelings, right? Sometimes we hide our excitement, sometimes we hide our hunger, our anger, our frustration, our soft feelings of yearning or longing or sadness or whatever, right? But when you lose somebody so profound, it was 3 days before the wedding. It was not just a ripple, guys. It was a lot of ripples. 2, 3 months before that, we had miscarried together. Um, and so I was still mourning that loss. My boss at the time got pregnant at the same time I had. And so I was actually watching a pregnancy go through the cycle to fruition. And I wasn't. It was a living reminder daily that I wasn't doing that. On top of it, to then lose the person that I was supposed to have this baby with and know that he didn't get to have children. There was so much built in there. Then I had my own child who looked up to this man as his, stepfather who was going through loss. And it was all over my face. Now that's a lot. And I'm not saying everybody goes through all of it, but you don't have to. Your face could still not be able to hide it if you stub your toe, right? You could get juice, that lemon juice in that paper cut, and your face isn't going to hide it. And maybe you don't want to look at the reaction in the mirror. You don't want to see the disgust, the ow, the pain, the whatever. I'm not judging. We're not scoring. This is for you to recognize, right? The more we reflect, the more we learn. And I'm just going to cycle through this because I'm kind of circular talking here. But I want you to reflect on what's going on in your life. What's coming up? Do you have anything? What's the good stuff, guys? What's the bad stuff? What are the things that we could help with? What are the things that you wish you didn't do? Do you wish you didn't eat candy in the middle of the night at 11? Do you wish you didn't crave, a Frappuccino ice cream for breakfast? Do you, whatever it is, right? I just give two food things because we're human and people eat. But what is it? If you're honest with what you're not good at, you can fix it. We can make changes to the things if we're willing to address them. People who win the lottery, right? We've talked about how people will then win the lottery and then end up poor again. They will actually end up worse off in some cases because they have additional debt after the win and they don't realize how. And the money kept going out of the account, but they didn't say anything about, hey, all this money just keeps seeming to disappear. Somebody understand money and can make it stop, right? And so don't wait to speak up if there's something you're needing, because there are people who can help. There are people who understand what you may not, and it's important for you to be willing to let them in. I love this right here, Robert. To open up more. Exactly right. That's the first step. Open up to yourself more. I gotta say, I love to hide from myself when I know I'm not doing what I want to be doing. Anybody else? Yeah, like avoidance. There is a special corner in my room where I swear I just don't see it. It becomes almost like this blurred image in my brain, and it's called the laundry pile. I will see it if I need something from it. And guys, it's clean, and I'm sorry. And it rotates often. It's not like it's been, whatever. But it's just something I don't find important. I love taking laundry from the dryer and putting it right on hangers. I love that. But if somebody else does the dryer removal and I don't immediately touch it, I don't want it. I like it when it's warm and fluffy. That's when I like to put it on hangers. I know that about myself. And so if I know that I don't want to touch laundry if it's not warm and fluffy and just out of the dryer, I should probably stay on top of that laundry. Otherwise, it's going to take a special event of me going, okay, accountability mode, let's go get it done to get it done. Now, I'm here. I'm on vacation from the day job, finger quotes, for another 10 days. I'm going to hold myself accountable and get my laundry figured out and pack up and do it before I go. So when I come back, it's not my problem. The more you reflect, right? Guys, if you want to join the stage, have this discussion, message me on LinkedIn and I'll get you that link. If you really got into this job of your life, can we talk about the different pillars? Because not just being the human in the role, but maybe there's something to your pay scale, your retirement plan. Maybe it's the people you engage with. Oh, I love this, Christine. I finally got help organizing my home. Guys, sometimes it's just better to hire the help. I always look at the ROI of something, and this is something I want you to reflect on. I could sit here and kick myself about the laundry. I could give up on the concept of ever being perfect with the laundry cycle, right? And having a zero basket policy. And I'm sorry if you're OCD and this is like the worst thing in the world to hear right now. I'm sorry. And it's okay. I'm not coming to your house to do your laundry. You can keep it the way you do it. I promise. I don't mind. But I could get a laundry service. To be honest with you, I thought about it and I was like, how would I be most effectively on top of this? And part of me is like, I should just take it to the laundromat, take myself out of my workspace, take myself away. I really don't want to go stand out there for hours and do it, right? The time suck is why I wouldn't. But there's something really beneficial in my brain about removing myself from my own house to do the laundry. Take the hangers with, fold it all up, come in, and the only thing you do is just tuck it away. It's more efficient for me because honestly, that's how I did it growing up. That's how I was trained to do it. We didn't have a washer and dryer. So for me, that's really efficient. Also, while we were gone, my mom could be at the house tidying up, cleaning, doing whatever. Right. And so we took the laundry. She's doing other things. It was ROI. These are things for you to think about. What is it in your office space? Would you do better taking your work outside of your home? Do you get distracted like in college when I had to do homework? I couldn't do homework at the house because I had a toddler running around. We were doing Barney and numbers and letters and PBS and all of the things. I couldn't focus on an Excel online only course when I was the first ever to take one. Like that was the first generation of online courses. It was terrible. And Excel, touching your teacher twice a week, waiting for an email back about a cell and what the code or the sum or the whatever should be before Google was really helpful. Felipe. See? I couldn't touch Felipe's. He's like, isn't it too warm to put on a hanger? I don't know, Felipe. It looked pretty good when it hung up there. And that's the thing. I don't like if do you lay it flat until it cools? Because if you don't have it flat or hanging, it will wrinkle. I don't know. To each their own, but these are the things you guys got to figure out, right? Truthfully, when you know what you need to do, when you know how you like it done, when you know how you best move, you should implement those things into your life as a steadfast non-negotiable. Get into the doing of being in charge of your life as your boss. Give yourself a schedule you'd want. If I were to ask you right now to pick somebody in the comment section, just each of you pick, just comment somebody else's name. I don't care if you pick the same people. I don't care. But if you're here and listening, just drop a name of some other listener you've seen comment in the comments. Pick somebody. And I'm vamping a bit because I know there's a little bit of a delay, and so I'm going to wait to move to the next part until I see the names start coming in. So you better do it, or we're not moving on. But as you're picking this name, I want you to think about what we're talking about today, right? We're talking about, would you hire yourself for your own life? Would you pick you and why? What is the job description? What is the good? What is the bad? What is the ugly? And if we're talking about this and then I tell you to pick somebody in the comments section, I want you to reflect on the idea of what I'm asking you to do is do like that Freaky Friday thing, the life swap. Right? I picked Felipe earlier in my brain because he was there. And I said I wouldn't want to give him arthritis. I'm going to ride that train. Felipe, you're still my person I'm picking. But Felipe, to swap lives with me, I would pick up your bad habits, good habits, the whole thing. The good, the bad, the ugly. It all gets swapped over. And you take on mine. Now, guys, very first thing I want you to reflect on is, oh my gosh, Melissa's going to see, or oh my gosh, Felipe's going to see. What is it that you're like, I don't want them to have to do this part of my life. That's the worst part. And I would never want anybody to deal with that. Everybody has something. If I was going to swap lives with Felipe today, I wouldn't want him to deal with my arthritis, but I also wouldn't want him to deal with the laundry pile on the chair, right? I also probably wouldn't want him to have to do the dishes that are still sitting on the counter from yesterday. I worked, I came home, they were there, and I didn't care. I went to bed. These are things that if I know I don't want him to have to deal with, I should probably do that now. Take care of it. And if I don't want to deal with it, then I should delegate it. And if I can't delegate it, then I need to figure out a plan, right? You hate doing dishes, don't let them go to the sink. If you have a dishwasher, by the time it leaves your hand, it should be in the dishwasher, and that's it. Don't put it down until it lands in the place where it will take care of it for you. It's smart money. Same thing with the laundry. Maybe you put it in the basket and the other person in the house doesn't mind. As long as it's in the basket, they'll do the laundry. Cool. That's great. Otherwise, get a service. Otherwise, plan it out, right? All right. Thinking through swapping, I want you to write down what you don't want to share with others. And you could just write that question: what wouldn't I want to share or have somebody else do if I were to swap? I'm going to just check my comments real quick. It is 7 o'clock. Guys, it's been a whole hour. I can't believe I've been talking this whole time. Ah, okay. So I have a few people talking in the DM, so I'm going to send it over. Also, it's a good time to just say hey again. Listen, if you haven't followed me on LinkedIn yet and you're watching the show, go do that. It makes sense. I do this once a week. If you've stayed this whole time, you'll probably stay next week. So come check that out, or go check that out. The other thing I would say is go check out my YouTube. I'm going to put up a visual here as I'm sending out the link. I also want you to make sure you're not missing out on it. I hit 30 subscribers today, guys. I was pretty excited about that. I don't check it often. I'm not living there hoping that it's going to be the next great big thing for me, but I do want to, um, you know, have you out there. Sometimes LinkedIn doesn't always work the best. Sometimes it's a little bit easier if your comments aren't showing up on the screen to go to YouTube, because sometimes LinkedIn filters those out. And so just saying, go check it out, scan the QR code. Other thing, I found this when I was looking through my QR codes. That's a buy me a coffee. Do you know I used to pop this up once in a while on my screen too? If you enjoy the show, if you would buy me a cup of coffee for this conversation, you want to say thanks, go ahead. There it is. Scan it. You can send a cup of coffee. Don't feel obligated, but it's nice. This is Coffee Chats. It's a thing that I did and I really enjoyed, and I forget who told me about it the first time. Maybe it was Damien, maybe it was Felipe. But yeah, there it is. Oh, and also, hey, good morning. Good morning. All right, let's get back into it, guys. Victory and victim both start out the same way. It's up to you how it ends. How are you feeling right now? Are you feeling victorious in this conversation? Do you feel like this is not even a need for you? You are the best employee for the job. You're 100% on the mission. You're 100% on your employment. You're the best boss ever. Do you feel like, hey, maybe Mr. Boss Man, Mrs. Lady Melissa, can we have a meeting on Friday? I have some things I need to discuss with you. It's okay. If you're not discussing it, maybe we should dive into some more questions. Is your life perfect? What is so perfect you have to maintain it? Because honestly, guys, even perfection must be maintained. Even glorious art done forever ago by the greatest of all times must be preserved and addressed over time to maintain its glorious luster and glow, right? And so what work are you doing if you're perfect to maintain that perfection? If it's not perfect, what would make it better? I'm not perfect. I will never be perfect. I feel like I would be exhausted trying to keep up. However, I do want to leave people better than I found them. I do want to give back more than I take. I do want to pour into people's cups more than they pour into mine, but I do like to share and spill into each other's cups a lot. Perfect is a marketing gimmick, Robert. If I had to answer anything, it is a marketing gimmick. It is done probably by a body company. They wanted us to be all we could be or remove all we were. Um, Christine, welcome to the stage. What's coming up for you?
Oh, hey there. Um, I did miss some of the last part because of a tech issue, so I may not be totally up to speed. But I was going to mention about getting somebody to clean and organize my home, that it was hard for me to do, and I'm doing it with her sometimes. I mean, I have to, you know, but like you're saying, like there's a pile of something or whatever. And she said she's seen worse, but I have my little piles, you know. But it didn't. It did, and I guess I have shame about them or whatever. But it didn't take that long to make a big difference, and it was just about getting a start. And I think Robert is about letting people in, um, you know, like letting people in where I didn't want to let them in. I just didn't. But yeah, I don't know how to phrase it, but
Oh,
it's
I get it.
so much of a relief. And there was no judgment, and yeah, and it was just about. I thought I could never just get on top of it or something, like that I was too busy, whatever. I have XYZ priorities. Um, but it's really motivating me to make changes other places too. Like it's just about, and I do find that, I have done things that accomplish things, and it's just about making a start, and getting help sometimes. I always don't want to do that. Like there's, I don't, I feel, I guess I don't know what another. I want to find a better word than bad, but I feel bad to ask sometimes.
But let me ask you this. How many corporations or successful businesses run on one human?
No, I know. Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
guys,
Yeah.
if you think about this, right, you're hiring somebody to be like, hey, I'm going to hire you for this business of being me, but you get no support. What kind of boss would you be? Right. And so I was so proud of you for doing it. Also, I'm going to own it. Christine, I was very pregnant with Peyton growing inside of my stomach. Truth be told, from 5 months on, all I did was have issues. She kept trying to deliver early. I was low progesterone. I had to get shots. It was just terrible. And then I also got gestational diabetes. I got pregnancy induced carpal tunnel, all these things. And the house, I had two toddlers in it that would come every few days because we did split custody. Long story short, the house wasn't being kept up the same because I was falling apart, super pregnant, two toddlers, and I couldn't manage. I hired somebody to come in and I had them clean the house. And, I told him it's not a traditional cleanup. It was kind of one of those TikTok cleanups, guys, not bad. And not like where the whole house is like destroyed. And I'm going to mute you. Yeah, thank you. Just till I'm done because it's coming back on me. But I had her come in and clean, and there was like paper and crayons and toys and stuff there was trash mixed in with the kids' stuff in the toy box. And I wanted it all done, top to bottom, everything. And they did it. And once it was done, I could maintain it. But as a woman who was struggling with her health, trying to keep a baby together and okay and safe inside while dealing with three other children now, two of them being toddlers, running around the house in chaos, it was a lot. It really was. And asking for help in that moment is what made it possible to stay on top of all of it once the baby came. And so, Christine, I'm proud of you because asking for help is usually how we get to a point where we can manage it again. Back to you.
Yeah, no, I actually had nothing to say like at that moment that you were speaking. It's just sometimes I shut things off and I'm like, did I shut off my mic? But anyway, uh what I was also gonna mention, well, I kept at first I was apologizing, and this woman actually said stop apologizing because I'm like, it wasn't always like this. I had to start working in my dining room because we're doing construction over there, and then like my workspace like took over half the dining room somehow, and so it was, yeah, I don't know. I can't even believe I'm talking about this publicly. I know it's just a LinkedIn show, but people will hear. But I'm a human being, and I needed that something that help. But I was also going to mention, I have hip arthritis now, which is awesome, and I did finally get some help because I can't even play basketball with my kids anymore. I can't do, like, it's really starting to affect my quality of life, and I started PT for that. So, yeah, I mean, I think I put things off for too long, and that's what happened. you know, until it's like critical, and it's like, okay, I almost don't have a choice now. I have to, it's affecting my quality of life. I need to do, even with the house organizing.
Yeah.
It's time to do something about it. But I don't want to wait that long next time. That's what I'm hoping. And I love this whole concept that you're doing about, I think it's so interesting to look at your life as a job. Um, and I'm going to re-listen to some of it because I missed some of the last part. Um, and all the things that I do that I am proud of, that I'm able to manage, and I accomplish. And there's a lot of unnecessary things in there, probably, or um, I could apply some lean management or something in there, right?
Yeah, get
Or
that Lean Six
or
Sigma
Kaizen
for
or something.
sure.
Yes, yeah. I'm like, that are totally, like, I wouldn't do it at work probably, but why am I operating this way at home? So, and even with the organization now, I've been so on top of my family about, that line about everything in its place, whatever the hell it is. Um, it's because it's like
There's a place for everything and
anything.
everything
Yeah.
in its place.
I'm like, the second even in the kitchen, just like, don't leave crumbs, don't leave a coffee spill, don't, it's driving me crazy, because you have to be on top of things constantly for it to stay, in that state. I don't want to become like a lunatic, but I have a little bit, but they all
And
need to be trained. Yeah.
I will say too, it had always helped me when I had all the kids in the house because I'm a little bit of a scatterbug. I will leave things around the house inadvertently because a little ADHD, maybe whatever. But at the top of the hour, or every with 15 minutes an hour, I would go around the house and just recollect it all. And just once an hour, just walk through the house and go, what did I leave behind? And I would get the kids to do it too. And so maybe you don't have that time frame, but knowing yourself, guys, this is the whole point. I love what Christine's sharing is she knows herself. Somebody, Robert said he would swap with you, Christine. And I was like, okay, I love that he offered that, because if Christine would swap with Robert, you guys could sit and talk about, like, okay, what's the worst part about being me? What's the best part about being me? And you guys might be shocked and it's that grass is greener thing. Like, no, thanks. I don't actually want to swap after all. However, when you think about, like, what do you bring to the table that maybe wouldn't be the most effective things in business, right? Leaving the coffee grounds or the break room would drive how many of your coworkers crazy? So being able to stop that habit before you take it out there to the world, or even yourself, right? Don't you deserve a clean coffee space the next time you want a cup of coffee? And you change that mindset. And I'm not picking Christine at all, because, like, I am that bunny. Also, just making your bed before you leave for work so you come back to a fresh bed, right? Those little things. And Felipe, I'm going to come to you on this because it really comes back to the heart of being in, like, hospitality and HR. And do you ever set yourself up to be that well received, come home and unfold the nice thing? I mean, I can't unmute you, it says you got to do it. But what are those habits that you do for you that you would keep, and what are the things that maybe you'd get rid of? Felipe. Oh, yeah.
I'll see the mute button. You know, there are habits that I grew up watching my father do. For example, and then now let me preface this by saying my mother's 93 years old. So she's from a very different generation, very Latino upbringing. So my father would come home from work and my mother would always have a drink and a little mini appetizer for him to eat. And they'd sit on the couch and they'd watch some TV a little bit before dinner. Maybe have a glass of wine. And he would just have his little routine. And my mother would always call him and say, "Hey, what did you have for lunch today?" So that she would make sure he didn't have the same thing for dinner. That sounds so lovely. That sounds just, I mean, beautiful, wonderful, very kind to my mother. My father was very appreciative. Within 3 months of being married to my wife, she made it very clear. I will never call you at work to ask you what you had at lunch to make sure I don't make the same thing for dinner. I will cook dinner for you sometimes and you'll eat what I cook. I'm like, fair enough. So I was like, I'll appreciate that. But what I realized at the end of the day, what I really need, give me 15, 25 minutes, maybe half an hour, just to wind down, change my clothes, get refreshed, maybe take 10 minutes just to sit down and read something or look at something or just whatever. Um, because I'm so much more present for everybody else if I can take that time just to wind down. And I think that, Melissa, you know this, when you have kids, you really don't get that benefit. The kids come first and whatever. But before the kids, you had it. So you know what it feels like. So after the kids are growing up, you kind of want to get back to that. And going back to this whole thing about what you all were talking about, asking for help, someone said to me like 6 years ago, they said, I don't believe there's such a thing as a solopreneur. And I said, well, a lot of people call themselves that. Why would you say that? It's like, because you never do anything by yourself. And you mentioned this, Melissa. Everyone that says they're a solopreneur, they probably have reached out for someone to help out with something that they aren't strong in. Whether it's graphic design, whether it's writing, whether it's publishing, whatever they need to do, they have other people they can reach out to for those talents. That means that you're not a solopreneur, that you are relying on other people, and that's okay. And I think that mindset's healthier than thinking it's all on me. Because working in the hotel industry, I have seen people, and let me say, hospitality is in my blood. Between being in the industry and being Latino, those two things, just being hospitable is just who we are. But teamwork is the other factor. I have watched a group of 20 people turn a ballroom for 600 people in less than 10 minutes. It is amazing what people can do when they work together. So I just sent Melissa a picture of I'm throwing an engagement party for my daughter, who just got engaged recently. And our backyard that I love to sit back in, it's very relaxing and peaceful. We transformed it into basically a venue for engagement party with tables and lighting, and we got karaoke stage. It's everything they wanted, we're doing. If I tried to do that by myself, I would not be on this call. I'd be outside sweating, cursing, and yelling at everybody because I can't do it all. Thank God for my wife, my mother, my sister, my nieces, some friends, people that have pitched in, not today, for the last couple of weeks, because we all need to be able, and mind you, a couple of weeks of work, I still have my full work job that I'm doing. So I'm busy. I have a children's book that I just am getting ready to publish with Nicole. There's other things in your life that's going to happen. If you don't ask for help, you're going to get overwhelmed. And that's why I think it's so important that instead of thinking about, oh, I don't want to bother anybody and ask for help, it's, you know what? If you get help and there's some teamwork, you can get a lot of things done, and you might get some better ideas out of it too.
Oh, Felipe, I love this so much. Okay, I'm going to have a couple hard questions for you. You ready? Are you ready? I'm
Okay.
going to be nice. I'll be gentle, but I want to know if you were sitting across from Felipe and I want you guys to visualize like player stats. Think about Terminator when he could like look at something and it was like on the screen, all the data was there. If Felipe is able to clock Felipe to that degree where he knows if Felipe's lying, it really is all truth serum time. What is the worst habit Felipe has that you know of in that would make you hesitate to hire him? And then also the best. I want the good and the bad of Felipe because I know Melissa and I'm honest with Melissa. I'm the worst person to work with if you touch my space. Like she won't share her crayons. Get your own crayons. She doesn't want you to mix colors. She doesn't want the nibs to look different colors after she's done. So there's some things like stay out of my lane or, get out of my lane, stay out of my desk. But what is it for you, Felipe? What is the good? What is the bad?
Um, so the bad is, and I struggle with this all my life, is don't give me feedback until I'm done. Let me finish what I'm trying to show you or tell you, and just stay out of my way until it's done. Because if you come in halfway and say, "Oh, well, that looks good, but what about this?" or "I like that idea, but what about?" Okay, that's part of my idea. Let me finish sharing my thought or showing you my thought before you come in and start chiming in. Now, if I ask your opinion, which I do a lot, all means. But don't just come in and start offering your opinion. Like I said for the first time in my life, when someone came up, I'm like, "I'm sorry, was I showing you something or did I ask for your opinion?" And they looked at me like, "Oh, you were showing me something." Like, "Okay, thank you." And it was something I was excited about. So I think that's probably my issue that I need to work on, that I need to be more patient and realize that people are just excited about sharing their ideas, and I need to just be patient. The good thing I would say is that I'm always open minded to different ideas, to having a better idea than mine. I listen to what you want. Like my daughter and my son in law, I may not like all the ideas that they wanted, but it's not my party. I want to do it for them. So when I'm working for you, I'm making it about you. And I make sure that I listen to you. And I want to make sure that you feel like, okay, he's taking my vision. He's actually helped me make it reality. And that's the good thing that I've always been good at. That's the hospitality in me, is that when people came to the hotel, I wanted them to have like the vision they had in their head. I wanted to surpass that. That was my goal. Was not just to meet their expectations, but to delight them. And I think that's part of just in me, and again, that hospitality in me.
I like that a lot because truthfully, I think that's in a lot of our friends group. I gotta say, as a theme, a lot of us who give back and do the things we do live to help others, be even in like the motorcycle environment, guys, people will come in and entrust me with their life. It's your life in your hands, and they're like, protect my head, my heart, my elbows, my knees, my toes, the whole thing. And I want to be a consultant, and everything has to be fitted for the person, and there's no one size fits all answer for anything. And then you have to like do the whole match the bike thing, and you got to have a special look for each person. They want to do it their way, and it's so cool. But the making them feel like it's not just a checking the box to be okay, not just like a hey, I got to put on my safety gear. You guys, if you remember COVID, right? There was no fun in having to put the mask on for a lot of people, except for people who made it fun to wear a mask, and they went and bought a bunch of colorful stuff or had fun with the signs and made it almost like a, backpack kind of pin 90s style display of passion and fun and whatever. And so when they come in and they do more than just check the box and they do more than just put their mask on so they're safe, they get to play and they have a great time. They're like, wow, this was so wonderful. Yet they just handed you like, $2,000, and they're smiling at you because you just took $2,000 out of their pocket. That is beautiful, guys. Not because of the $2,000. They're going to spend that either way. They're going to do it at Amazon. They're going to do it with us. They're going to go somewhere because they literally have no choice. It's a requirement by law. But to enjoy doing it here, to have fun, to play, to dance, to sing. I had a customer going, they hate working here, don't they? And just laughed at me because the employees were having such a good time at work. And being able to have everybody leave a room with that vibe, I think is a superpower that I don't think a lot of people harness enough of or want to harness enough. And I think hospitality does. Really good retail, that bibbity bobbity boop effect of being the here's your silver, your what are they, glass slippers, here you go. That's what it felt like when you put them on their thing. And I even tell them I feel a little bit like their fairy godmother getting them ready. But if you guys can find that passion for yourself, right, bringing it back to today's topic, if you could offer yourself that experience in life, you are able to be your own fairy godmother. You are able to harness the energy to make this as enjoyable as you want this life to be. There are people out there who just wake up and enjoy so much of their, like 80% of the day, there's no worries. They won't let things overwhelm them. When I look at like Mr. Rogers, right? He just genuinely seemed content in his life. He seemed to just be good. Bob Ross, same kind of deal. And so I think if we can offer ourselves that now, we do it for others so often. I know if you're a parent, you have done it for a child, right? If you're a spouse, you've probably done it for your spouse. You think about the people you care about and how you've reciprocated through the years. But how often do you treat yourself like your best friend or your spouse or your mom or your kids? Robert, am I disappearing? I don't know. Let me know. Am I disappearing, guys? Felipe, are we disappearing? It could just be Robert.
I hear you. I don't think so.
Okay. I just want you guys to reflect, guys, because when I get back to me, there are some days I'm just not a great partner. There are days where, the lady on the left isn't watching the lady on the right. And so the lady on the right just lumps in her bed and watches Netflix and enjoys it. Don't get me wrong. There is somewhere in the middle. If you just Venn diagram, there is a sweet spot where I enjoy doing both sometimes. However, if it gets too heavy because I'm not being a good partner to the lady on the left, there's something there. Like I kick myself, right? If I don't get enough accomplished for the lady on the left, and I feel like the lady on the right. And you gotta not do that. I gotta not do that. We have to allow for the good, the bad. It happens. The reason we're able to feel all the emotions is because we were given the gift of every emotion. That's why babies can express it too. I always measure against a baby. If a baby would experience it, then a human grown up should be allowed also, because we even have temper tantrums. Doesn't mean you got to throw them outward, but you've been inside where you're like in traffic throwing one. There's a reason. It's not because you're mad at the car necessarily. It's because you're late. Why are you late? Because you didn't give yourself enough time to allow for this traffic. If you knew that this was coming and you allowed yourself the time to be in this process because you knew the process was coming, the audiobook would have your attention. Your favorite playlist would be queued up. You'd be talking to your friend because you know you're going to sit there for 30 minutes and you have the time to do it. Instead, you're mad they're not miraculously parting the sea so you can get to your meeting on time. So I want you to think about it, guys. How are you showing up for you? Are you giving yourself enough time? If you're getting angry, if you're not wanting to hire you because maybe you're not always on top of it, why aren't you on top of it? What would better prepare you to be in this position if you're not prepared today to take it on? And it's kind of silly to think that you wouldn't want to hire yourself for the role. You already have it. But there's a lot of managers out there who have a job that maybe shouldn't have the management job. And so doesn't mean you're a great manager just because you're in the title. Doesn't mean you shouldn't have your job. It just means we got to get those training wheels on and figure out what's not working. How can we adjust so you can be a better manager for you? And every human should have a list. Every single one of us. I don't care who you are. Okay. There was one name that popped in my head that would think that they maybe didn't need a list, but I'm not going to go there. But that's where my brain went. I was in a little personal joke. So write down what you want to change. Is it time management? Is it money management? Is it relationship management? That's another thing that came up a lot when I was reflecting on, is this my dream job? Would I be happy here? What makes a good job, right? And relationships in the workplace are big. As a solopreneur, Felipe had talked on this and hit on it. There is no such thing as not having something, right? You're either in a relationship with your tech stack and you have your team who created it, the founders of that business who created your CRM or your Canva or your LinkedIn. There's somebody behind that also. So even unless you're just standing there by yourself with air in your lungs, somebody is helping. Who's helping? How do you have that relationship built? How do you pour into the relationship? How do you give back in that relationship? Because the other thing I would say, guys, is it's not just all business, right? When we're looking at ourselves in this role, We are many things. I'm a wife. That's one of the pillars. Am I being a good wife? Am I giving balance? I think about this a lot. I want to make sure that my business doesn't overflow so much into my life that there's not time for family. I try to make sure that I'm mindful about family time. So on Sundays, I kind of just ghost people. Unless we're doing a careers chaos and coaching, we don't really have anything planned. And even now we're on a break, so we could have that time back to focus. Felipe's doing things, I'm doing things, right? Um, but it's having the balance and knowing when to take it. It's also, do they feel the balance? Have you had that communication sit down? As an employer, as HR, as business owners, you want to do one-on-ones. Anybody who's ever been in a leadership role, you should meet with your team and address the concerns. And if there aren't concerns, I'm concerned immediately. If I sit down with my team and they're like, everything's perfect, they're not paying attention. They're either lying to me because they don't want to address it, or they're not actually invested because there's no perfect business out there. Everything can go wrong at once in business. The printer can stop working. It could be something as small as, hey, the button's not working, the computer froze. Nothing's perfect. And so if they didn't come to me and at least say, hey, I wish we had better internet speed, I would be concerned. Are you actually aware and paying attention? So how tapped in are you with your relationships? Are people able to be close enough to you to give you valuable feedback, or they're just like, yeah, life's great. It's great because they're not maybe in it, right? I always get this vision of the pool. Like I'm in the pool, I'm in the water. I'm like, hey, are you good? How are you doing? And they're like, yep, great over here, but they're not wet. And so, or asking them how the water is when they're not wet. How's the water feeling? Oh, it's great. And they're dry. That doesn't make sense to me. And so tapping in, reaching out to family, listening on the phone. Don't just text people. Don't just don't just talk and email. Pick up the phone and call them and listen and ask the hard questions. Hey, I miss you. Hey, when's the last time I saw you? Hey, why aren't we meeting each other more often? And then listen, because honestly, if the aunt that I'm avoiding intentionally because she's not the nicest of the family members, if she calls and says, hey, why haven't we talked? There's going to be an eyebrow and a pause and a, well, and that well is going to tell her we have work to do, or it's going to tell her you probably shouldn't ask that question. Do you have those moments with yourself or your people where you know that if you ask that question out loud, somebody would have a, well, and what is it? Just write it down. You probably know if you're in a relationship with any kind of communication, even if it's loud communication, you've probably communicated what isn't perfect. Felipe, I love that you said your wife, Michelle, was like, I'm never calling to make sure I don't cook the same thing. I used to laugh all the time at the school lunch menu, and I never understood why they would send us a school lunch menu. Like, what are we going to complain? Why do we have to know? But then it occurred to me, oh, well, because people don't want to eat the same thing at home. And then, yeah, my mom, she didn't care either. And so it was kind of funny. But I do love the sense of the clarity and the communication of, I'm not doing that for you because that's not really my happy spot, but here's our middle ground. Guys, that's a really cool spot to be in. What is the middle ground between employer you and employee or prospect you? Where can you agree that you 100% know that this is the sweet spot for you? You know this is your definition of success. You know that right there in the middle is where you are and you're strongest and you're boldest and you're ready. The Venn diagram, right? And then what are on the outsides? That's what I love about a good Venn diagram is if you find the overlap, the things that match, the things from before and the things that from after that you want to maintain, that are the same, that won't shift. They're going to be there. They're in the center first. And everything else is a to-do list. On the left is stuff to get rid of. We're not going to keep that. That's the old circle. We don't like that anymore. We're not bringing that stuff with us. On the right, the stuff that's bullet pointed and we're not in yet, right? We're not there. We got to grow into that. We have work to do to climb into those circles and bring them into this overlapping circle. When you get clear, guys, life changes. And it really is something that gives you back control. Because if you don't know what's happening, you can't fix it, right? If there's a leak and you're swimming in 4 feet of water and you can't tell because The pipe is below the water line. It's at the 1 foot mark. You can't tell where the leak is because it's buried, right? How are you going to figure it out? It won't be until you pump the water out that you can start seeing, get the clarity to be able to seal it and fix it. It's the same with everything you're lacking right now, everything you're losing, everything that's being flushed away. Money, time, energy, relationships, success opportunities. You're holding you back. Like I said, you're not going to have a bad boss without your permission. You're not going to have a bad relationship without your permission. You're not going to be underpaid without your permission. And you can't just say, oh, I want more money and it happens, but you can say, I want more money and I'm going to go get it. And then start working on that Venn diagram overlap of what do I have today that can take me into tomorrow's pay? Let's just say you're a store manager, right? I love the thought of corporate and store managers in a Venn diagram because I've done both. Yeah, they've always overlapped. I used to say fast food was a great place to start because it reminded me a lot of corporate. You have boxes to check, you have deadlines to meet. They're usually fast. You usually have a bunch of things coming at you from different angles, different reasons, different outcomes and outputs, same kind of chaos. I would say staffing was the fast food of HR because truthfully it is. Everything that Felipe would get to do over 6 weeks time, he would call me. I have had 3 days to find the same person. And I have the same criteria with deadline, right? They tried for 6 weeks, couldn't do it. They call a staffing firm and I have 72 hours to fill this role. Okay, let's do it. How did I get it done? Because I had no choice. Deadlines. I figured it out. Now, doesn't mean there's a right or wrong way. Half the time staffing doesn't work. That's the value of staffing is you can just rinse and repeat as often as possible till it works out. It gap fills for the lack of time sometimes, but you have to figure out the best way to play for you, and clarity is control. If Felipe knows, hey, I don't want to use staffing, it costs me too much to do it, but I still need to hire quickly, he can use staffing while he revamps his internal process to get it down to 3 weeks instead of 6, right? There's ways to fix it. Felipe, Christine, is there anything you want to add here? I feel like I've been going forever, but I would love to hear your thoughts on this.
Christine, you want to go first?
She might have disappeared. Sometimes she runs around the house cleaning.
Yeah, sometimes I am running around the house, but you can go first. I am listening.
No, no, I totally agree with that. What you gave, Melissa, because it is something that the staffing needs are going to change based on the industry, on the individual company. If it's growing, if they did layoffs, they have to rehire people back. If there's a crucial, critical job like one that takes care of like cybersecurity or payroll, that you need to make sure that that job does not stop. It is going to change how you do things. And to your earlier point, you may have had a great routine for years and you may have had a perfect structure of how you do things and it worked really well. And then all of a sudden, outside factors change. Guess what? Your system does not work anymore. You got to change. And that's okay. You got to adapt. You got to be agile. And you'll figure it out and you'll get efficient again. But people are like, well, no, this isn't working. No, it's not working because it's not working as fast. It's not working as fast as you had before when you had your system in place. You just have to create a new system and you'll get to that speed again. But that's what people are afraid of is, oh, change is going to mess up my routine. Well, your routine's not going to last forever.
My first thought is good. The reason we want to change in the first place is the routine wasn't working. So good, right? Christine, go for it.
Okay. No, I was going to say 2 things. So the organization I work for now is going under like a major transformation and like how we position ourselves, the tools that are used, and um, particularly the sales staff is losing their minds because they have to totally change the way they used to do things. But the ones that are surviving are the ones that are embracing it, and the ones that unfortunately are not, because a lot of hard decisions had to be made. But it also takes time. So we got a new tool called Sales Loft, and there's a system to it, and it's not like old fashioned prospecting. So, but you just got to give it time, and you've got to develop, you got to embrace it and just have faith that doing these things will eventually build your pipeline and produce results. And I believe in it, but not everybody does. And secondly, I was going to say, I've talked about this before, but I have a different manager now, and it's really different just because he's different with me, and even the team I work with. There's one individual in particular that I is a peer, a director I work with, and he just expects XYZ because I support his team. I'm the subject matter expert that supports his team. And so, and he had my job before too. So I will say that. But he kind of pushes me gently and in the right way. I don't know how else to say it. So when some people have been impressed with me lately, I do mention that so and so is, kind of, he kind of made me do some of these things, but I'm glad because it's made me a better, a better SME. It's made me a better professional. It's made me a lot of things. So that's what I have to add.
I love that. I think a good boss or leader or partner, however you guys want to put it, will push you. Um, and gently, but do it to make you better. Right. And I think everybody's got to do it their own way. Mark Cuban said in his book, he likes when he's yelled at. He likes a team that would get fired up with him. And I think there's something to be said about that for Melissa too. I need a little bit of all the chaos at some point because it depends on where we're at, what we're talking about. There are some things I'm just so passionate about. It comes out like anger or fuel or fire because it is fire. God put it on my heart and I believe that. Or, there's moments I've lived through because I'm supposed to share it, and that's cool. But how do you pass that on to others? It depends. And you guys have that communication. And honestly, I think this is the best thing I've heard. I know, Felipe, how many times did we talk about how we could help Christine, or in the audio rooms we've all been in where you were struggling with your last role and you weren't happy and you wanted something different. Now you got a guy who's pushing you to be your best. And I know the value there because I had a young little sales professional I was molding from 19. She's 20 now, almost 21. And she has been promoted 5 times in 2 years. And she's a top performer in the nation, third in the nation out of thousands at 20 years old because somebody was like, hey, no, why don't you do a little bit more? Why don't, even now, she's really great. And I'm still like, oh, is that all you did? She's third in the nation. She's not first. There's room to grow, right? And so I love that. Felipe, who is that for you in your life currently? Is that yourself, or is there somebody else in your life who's kind of doing that for you, like Christina's, like her bosses?
I'm sorry, repeat the question one more time.
So Christine's supervisor is like fueling her and pushing her and like giving her some criticism and like ideas to be better. Who would you say is the number one person pushing that for you right now? And is it yourself?
You know, if you'd asked me a year ago, I would definitely have said myself. But I gotta say, today I have a CEO who's just been amazing to work for, and she used to be a university professor. So that professor in her of like helping, pushing people, knowing their ability, and seeing that they can do it even though they can't see it themselves. She has that in her, and she pushes me not in a student way, but in a, well, I expect you to know this, or I expect you to be able to do this, or I know you can do this, or oh, come on, that's one of your strengths. There's no question you're the best person for that. And she does it with encouragement, but she also lets you know why she thinks you can push yourself and do it. And it really is something that at first it can be a little scary. People can take that as, oh my God, they're expecting this so much from me and I can't do it. No, don't think of it that way. They're expecting so much from you because they think you can do it.
I love that. Because, guys, honestly, how many times have you believed in yourself because somebody else made the comment first? You drew a picture and somebody's like, oh my gosh, you're fantastic at drawing. And all of a sudden you realize, hey, maybe I'm an artist. Hey, you're so good at this. And then, all of a sudden you're giving yourself credit for something you never gave yourself credit for before. I think a lot of it comes from the people we surround ourselves with. And I think it's really important to pour into other people if you see them doing something great. If you see them doing something and just enjoying it, say, gosh, you look like you're having a great time, right? Because it's true and it's feedback. And sometimes we need people to reflect on the moment because we miss the good stuff because it passes and we enjoy it and we're along for the ride. The bad stuff people call, like, after a funeral, you'll get call after call, text, email. If you post about it, you get all those responses and messages, and it's wonderful to have, but it also is a repeated tap into something that maybe wasn't the happiest moment in your life. Not always do you get that with the same things. It might be birthdays, it might be, weddings. Like Felipe's got his event tonight. And by the way, before I forget, Felipe, Gregory wants to know, there's Social Saturday today, right? He wants to know if the chat's happening.
Yes, it is happening.
It happens every week, Gregory. They got a whole team. They just rotate like who's in charge. If people got different things, they all party. It's kind of cool. You guys should check it out. Go follow Felipe's page if you're not, and Christine too. They're kind of cool people. But honestly, guys, think through this stuff, right? How often do you celebrate the wins? How often do you keep pointing out the positives in people? One of my favorite humans in the world, and I want to thank you guys for coming. We're getting close. That was my own alarm to say, hey, it's almost time to wrap up. So you guys, thank you for coming to the stage. Thank you for your shares in the comments too. Thanks. If you're not following me yet on YouTube, go over and do that. It's about that time. But one of the favorite things that I have watched in human engagement and experience is actually my daughter. My daughter is one of those humans who, if you take her to a restaurant, she will compliment the waitress. And sometimes she will interrupt mid order. You might be ordering your iced tea with, and she goes, your eyes are beautiful, lemon. And the waitress just looks over and, thank you so much. You have pretty eyes too, right? But this smile glows on her face all of a sudden. And my daughter used to do it at Walmart with the greeter. She would run up to this guy. He was an elderly guy in the Nebraska when we were living there. He was a greeter at the door. And she would run up, hi, and hug his leg. Just because he was somebody she knew all the time. And stranger danger was a thing, but she never really lost that vibe. She would always make people feel seen. She would always say hello. She would give compliments out of nowhere. And there is a ripple to her behavior that I watch. And I dare you to try it. Next time you're out at a restaurant, the waitress is there, the waiter's there, you get coffee, you engage at a grocery store, I don't care. Compliment their pin, their mascara, or wow, your eyeshadow is really pretty color. What is that? You don't have to be creepy. You could say, hey, I really like that color shirt. Where did you get it? Be kind. I love your flowers in front of your house. What are they? Right? As if a neighbor's gardening, just give a compliment out of nowhere for no reason to a stranger and watch what happens. Also, watch what happens with you, because I want to work for an employer who, as they're walking down the hallways of the building, or as we're walking from building to building, they're waving at the gardener and the landscaper and the janitor. I want them to engage everybody as they go. I want that Sesame Street experience. And so to want that on LinkedIn and to actually talk about it all the time, right? This is something we have done. To yearn for that kind of behavior, that Mr. Rogers' life and his cardigan game, because man, was it strong. But to see my daughter emulate that naturally, to just live it. It's a gift. There's a ripple. And we don't always have to be the one who does it directly. But guys, you are the direct boss of your life. You are number one in charge of you. You complain about your boss. I want you to think about why you're complaining about something you're choosing. And I'm not saying you don't get to complain, but As a boss, I will tell you, I don't want to hear you complain without an idea to fix. If you tell me, oh my gosh, this hanger's broken, and the next thing out of your mouth isn't, we need to order more hangers, or I need to get a new hanger, or can you hand me the hanger? I'm going to look at you and go, okay, what will you do next? And ask you to solve for that, right? Same thing with you. If you're complaining about your life, Christine, she was a prime example. She wasn't happy with it. She fixed it. It took some twists and turns and things, but there were actions to get her to a point where now she is thriving in a way she wasn't before. The same thing can happen for everybody. We need to choose what we want and how we want and where we're going with it. We need to decide, we need to, oh, this one, assess before you act, right? We need to assess what we like about ourselves, what we like about our life, what's in the job description to be you. What do you like about your job? What could you outsource about your job? Sometimes when you restructure an organization as it grows, job descriptions get redefined. You're allowed to do that right now. I was once only defined as a GED holder who was really good at sales. Now I'm a lot more. We talked about that. Go back to the beginning if you want to hear it. I'm not going through it again. Go follow me on LinkedIn if you haven't. If you're ready to do something, if you're ready to change it, if you want help doing the Venn diagram of the good, the bad, the ugly, and like where you want to go, I'm here. I'm here. I am doing LinkedIn profile reviews. I have this power up profile thing. It's a 30-minute session. I don't mind. It's not super hard, fast. We'll get it done. But I want to do 30 minutes, meet and greet, figure out what you want to do. Let me assess your LinkedIn, really get into the nitty gritty of what you're trying to accomplish. Make sure the headline about section is tightened up. Give you some posting tips based on what you're doing. How would I get through that back door instead of the front door if the HR people aren't hiring me? Right? What would I do to get the owner to hire me instead of having to climb through all of those different steps? I will give you those tips, not just posting, but action tips to get going. And then we'll do a follow up. After a month, I want you doing the tips consistently. It takes some time to gain ground. LinkedIn does what it wants to. And so you have to have time to marinate the meat. It's gotta rest before we fire it up, right? But in 30 days, you should be able to see some action happening. You will have data, you'll have results, we'll assess, and we'll keep going for a 15-minute session to tighten it up and figure out what's next. If you have a business and you want to do a team group, I will do $125 a head for 5-person minimum. If you have more, I will do group discounts. Just get at me about it. I will do 90-minute virtual session. We'll do makeovers. We'll get a posting calendar. We can set it up for your team. We can do it individual. It doesn't matter. And then we'll have a little playbook, something for you guys to play by to understand what value businesses can bring to LinkedIn and what the value is by posting and what kind of posts bring the most value, because not everything is the same for everybody. There is no one size fits all approach. I don't care what they say. If they're just giving you a playbook that everybody's supposed to use, it's already not working. Even recipes for cakes need different temperatures depending on altitude or pan. Is it greased? Is it glass? Is it dark? I mean, guys, there is no one size fits all approach to anything. I don't care what they say. So customize it. Come see me if you want some help. Also, hey, did I tell you I'm traveling tomorrow? As soon as I get off this call, I'm going to be packing. I'm packing my bags and working on that laundry I told you about. Jackie, that face up there in the corner, that's a face I have for laundry right now. But I'm going to be packing my bags. We're heading to Arizona. We are going to be there to collaborate on some upcoming events. I might have heard a little birdie tell me that maybe the emotional women might be doing a retreat, what is it? A retreat? A what? A summit? What? Are we going to do an on-site event soon? I don't know. We might be plotting. If you're in Arizona and want to meet with us, let us know. Also, if you want us to come talk to your team, do our communication workshop while we're there, I know it's short. I know it is, but there is still time for a lunch and learn. We can get it done. We can do it remotely. If you're not in Arizona and want to sign up, we won't do it this week if you're remote, though. I'll be honest. If you're not in Arizona, we're not booking you this week, but we can book you for another week. So if you want us to come in and talk to your team about communication and the emotion and some of those fiery subjects that can come up in a workplace and how to get through them effectively, we would love to do that. Let us know. DM me. Okay. Also, guys, I don't know if you remember, but we did some books together, and we would love to talk to book clubs if we're there. We would be happy to come do like a coffee meet and greet. Let us know. We're pretty open. We're being pretty fluid about this trip. We got a lot to do, but I know a pool and maybe a little umbrella is calling my name. I definitely am going to smell like some sunscreen this week. I'm going to be in some dresses. I'm going to see what we're going to do. Um, and we're going to be live on Jackie's show. So if you're not following her over there, go do it. If you want to sign up with the Emotional Women, DM us to get started. You can DM me, you can DM Jackie, you can DM the Emotional Women group. But just remember, guys, I'm here to help. And if any of this resonated for you, please just drop that in the comments. Tell me your favorite part. Tell me what you like about you being your boss. Tell me the worst part about your boss today. If you could fix one thing about the you that is your boss, what is it? Because accountability starts with owning it, right? Just acknowledging it. The benefit of having lived through addiction within the family is knowing that the first step is admitting there is a problem. And that's true in every scenario. First step is acknowledging it, right? Assess, and then we act, and then we get into it. So if you're not there, if you're not in the life you dreamed of yet, this is where I want you to get a hold of me. We can hook it up. Also, guys, I'm feeling really generous. So if you message and say, hey, I know you're going to Arizona, I'll give you 50% off. But you got to use those words. I know you're going to Arizona. Okay. With that, guys, thank you guys for coming. Go follow each other. Go connect. You should be friends. You both hung out in the same place at the same time, doing the same things for 2 hours. I know I'll see you out in the audio events because I'm off for the next 10 days beyond my coaching and playing and traveling. So get with me, get with Jackie, get together, get some coffee, have a good time. And why don't you get up and dance a little bit with me as we say goodbye? Take care, guys.
Sunlight creeps through my window pane. Dreams of stars, now a faint refrain. Coffee brews and thoughts collide in this early morning ride. Wake up world, let's start the day. Insight flows in a bright array. Questions dance like morning dew. In this space, it's me and you. Coffee chats with Melissa. Every cup is a whisper. Conversations open doors, spilling thoughts forevermore. Ideas bubble crisp and bright. Words take flight in morning light. Consult the heart, make it sing. New perspectives on each wing.